Welcome back to a new episode of Two Guys and a Mic. We are finally up on YouTube. We're finally out there. Thank you so much if you've already subscribed. I'm Jim Ryan. He's Mark Rizzo.
That's me.
And we're two guys with professional experience in the music industry. If you want to call it professional, we will. And we're here to talk about music and more. And thank you for subscribing. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you get reminded when we post new episodes, which we hope to do weekly. And what else? Oh, hit the like button. And it doesn't cost to subscribe. You did it. And you're the cheapest guy I know.
It's free. I didn't pay. I subscribed to my own channel.
There you go. So we are back, and we have a lot of things to talk about, a lot of stuff going on. You're dealing with mom trying to get in a new Uber today, which is fun, right?
Anytime you deal with your parents at an advanced age, it's always fun. And it ages you doing it, by the way.
Yeah, it kind of does. So it is a podcast about music and more. And each week we're going to do a top 5 of something. We've already done top 5 one-hit wonders, top 5 female artists of all time. And then we thought we'd do top 5 albums and why we're picking them. So let's get into that. Why don't you start with your first record on your list?
Well, I did want to say that this was episode 5. And for our international fans, that would be Cinco, episode Cinco, for those that are watching overseas.
Oh, you mean down south or over in Spain?
I'm talking Queens, New York, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, top 5 albums.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to talk loud because there were comments that my microphone was not very good, despite the big purchase on Amazon. So hopefully they can hear me because I have a big audience out there that needs to hear
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Top 5 albums. Obviously, I went with one which I think everybody has in their library, whether you want it to or not. You have to go with Thriller, Michael Jackson. I think when that album came out and the video and the single, it just, it rocked the entire industry as well as, anything else. I don't know if anything else could top that, honestly.
I'm pretty sure.
Excitement and hits.
I'm pretty sure 8 of the songs on that album all made the top 40.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, which that just doesn't happen anymore at all.
He wasn't even able to top it. I just saw a special about him, and he tried with I forgot what the follow-up was.
Bad.
And he was competing against himself, and that's awfully hard to do.
And Bad was a good album. It had some hits on it, but Thriller was one for the ages and the lifetime. And I figured you were going to put that on your list, so it didn't make my list.
Good.
So
what was on your list?
Number 1 on my list?
It's got to be a rock record. I'm betting.
Top. Do you want to take a guess? This is the top album of all time, a must listen for anybody.
Well, I don't want to say in case it's on my list. So go ahead. What do you got?
Pink Floyd's The Wall.
I knew it. Okay, I figured you'd go with that.
Pink Floyd, The Wall. I mean, talk about a concept album of concept albums, which nobody does anymore. Basically, well, I don't want to say nobody, but pretty much nobody does anymore. This was perfection from start to finish. They're one of the best bands when it comes to that. They put on an amazing show. The music and the lyrics, they make you think, and they're just definitely one of the all-time greats.
Well, I kept them off my list because I'm still trying to figure out what Pink Floyd means. So if I don't understand the name of the artist, I'm not putting them on my list.
Oh, I see.
You got rules.
You got rules. Okay. On to your second one.
Well, fairly easy one. It goes back to one of our previous episodes where we talked about this band coming up to Sirius. And of course, I put in Fleetwood Mac Rumors. I think that's a pretty decent all-around album that everybody should have. You never hear anyone saying they don't like that album. It's just a good album. Great album.
Totally agree. Amazing album. And there was a lot of stories behind that album and the making of that album. I think I mentioned in one of our earlier episodes about the time I spent with Christine McVie while they were all there at Sirius XM and how much tension and craziness there was with the band. And when she wrote You Make Love and Fun, it came to her in the middle of the night, and that was such a cool story for her to share. And it was like, wow, how easy things are today. We could just pick up your phone and start talking into it or, jotting down stuff. But back then you couldn't just do that. That didn't exist.
Crazy.
So,
but unfortunately, we can't have her on the podcast.
No, we can't, sadly. But yeah, Rumors, I agree. So far, we're going good. All right, the
That's a
second
good
one on
one.
my list is not a rock record. The only one that's not a rock record here. Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life.
Okay. I saw
Stevie,
that was fairly high on the Rolling Stone list too.
just an amazing artist. You had massive hits on there with Sir Duke and I Wish. Even Ebony Eyes was a great song. And he's so talented. And if that I could put that album on and spend the whole day with it too. Really good.
He's a great artist. However, I did find out he does not see anybody backstage.
You shouldn't say things like that. But you threw it out there, so it's
I
out.
throw it
Okay.
out there. This
Okay.
gets subscribers,
Remember,
controversial remarks.
allegedly, you have to say allegedly. Keep us
Allegedly,
out of the
yes.
courtroom.
But don't you get the joke? He doesn't see anybody
Yes,
backstage.
yes, I got the joke. Oh,
He can't yell at us. And if you read the internet, there are people who believe he can see.
really?
That's supposed to be a scandal.
Do you do
Can you
deep
imagine
dives in
that?
the internet of this? This is crazy.
I read a story from Lionel Richie who was convinced that Stevie Wonder can see. Google
Really? Lionel said
Google
that? Okay, I'll have to
Lionel
Google
Richie
that.
made a remark once. Yes.
All right. Give me
You
your
never know.
next give me your next album.
You got to go with Abbey Road, the Beatles.
Oh, yeah, another good one. Why for you?
I mean, it was probably, I mean, some people say the White Album, some people say this and that, but I just think Abbey Road is great. Great.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a whole concept and everything else and the songs, everything fitting in, musical instruments and the way they produced it. I mean, it's just, classic.
And anybody who goes on vacation to London, it's like obligatory to do the, crossing the street like the Beatles did for the album cover.
I just saw somebody did that on our Facebook page. I
Yeah.
saw somebody had who recently gone, oh, our boy Scott Fink.
Yeah, Scott Fink. He was over at Abbey Road. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw he was in there. He just did the
So,
whole cross the street thing.
yeah, well, you have to. It's kind of an obligatory thing if you're going there. If you're going to go to London and you're a music fan, you're going to go by Abbey Road.
Very cool.
Next one on my list, and this is a band I've seen so many times. Probably my all-time favorite band ever.
I'm gonna
Uh,
guess. I'm gonna guess.
Go ahead.
Phil Collins.
Well, he was in the band, yes,
Okay, there
Genesis,
you go.
and the album Duke, which came out in early '80s, and has so many great songs from top to bottom. In my opinion, not everybody would include this band on any top list, but for me, album greatest albums of all time, that album definitely has to be on there for me.
Okay, agreed. Can't go
Okay,
bad with that.
next one. I think this is your fifth one.
It's my fourth one. I did Thriller,
Okay,
Rumors, Abbey Road. This will be my fourth one, which just
okay.
personally,
Oh yeah, I have two others left. Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go with Born to Run, Bruce Springsteen.
Great album. That's the album that made him a pop star.
Yep.
You
And
know,
I think they were about to give up on him. And I think, well, we'd have to get Tom Cunningham on, the Bruce fan of fans,
that's true.
expert of
TC
experts.
knows all that. Now,
Yep,
he was with Columbia, right?
sure. Who,
Right.
Tom?
No, for,
Bruce.
Bruce.
Yeah, Bruce with Columbia.
And I mean, because that song really catapulted him onto pop radio. Prior to that, you would hear him, on rock radio, all over the place. And he had great records. But that's where he first started getting those top 40 hits.
Well, who's next for you?
Okay, next up on my list is a great band from the country north of us. It's actually there was two records. I wasn't sure which one to pick, but I'm gonna go with "Moving Pictures" by Rush.
Wow,
To
there's a
to
dark
hear
horse.
three guys make the sounds that they made, and arguably, well, in my book, he would be top. Neil Peart, who's no longer with us, the drummer of that band was just a phenomenal. They all three of them were phenomenal musicians, but to watch him play the drums was. I heard somebody say, actually, Chad Smith of the Red Hot Chili Peppers say that your favorite drummer. He's talking to anybody. Your favorite drummer, their favorite would be Neil.
Hmm.
So whoever your favorite drummer is, they would love Neil. and I just think he was amazing. And for the drummer to be the guy that wrote all the lyrics, which is not normal. I think Don Henley, he didn't sing. Don Henley did sing, and Don Henley wrote a lot of songs, but drummers don't usually get themselves out front. But he is the guy that wrote all the lyrics for that band.
Interesting. Good pick.
So there you go. That it was either Moving Pictures or 2112, but I went with Moving Pictures.
Okay.
All right, next up for you.
I actually stopped at 4, but if you want me to throw a fifth one in, I was thinking the Chipmunks Christmas album. I think you really can't beat that.
Oh, now you just ruined this whole segment.
They were classics.
The Chipmunks, an all-time greatest album.
Comes in number 5 on my list.
Okay. What songs are on that thing?
Christmas, Christmas, don't be late. You know it. Come on. Sing along, Jim.
I'm not singing anything.
But actually, I have a other side list of people whose music I would never put on that list. Here's where we're going to get people.
Wait, I got one more left.
Okay, let me hear your fifth.
All right. By the way, this is Two Guys and a Mic. It is episode number 5. Subscribe. It costs you nothing. Hit the bell for the notifications so you know when we're posting new episodes. I'm Jim Ryan. He's Mark Rizzo. And number 5 on my top 5 list albums all time. And I don't think you can dispute this one. 1984 by Van Halen. You've got I'll Wait, Jump, Panama, Hot for Teacher, Top Jimmy, all songs that made the top 40.
Yep. Can't argue with that.
Great album. And it's the last album that David Lee Roth was part of the band. And, then they went the Sammy Hagar route. So there you go. Okay. So give me the albums you hate.
Well, not albums I hate. And this will be, a lot of people get upset with it. I was never a Beach Boy fan. I know there was supposed to be the American version of the Beatles. They walk on water. Everybody loves them. Sadly for me, Pet Sounds, I guess that was the big breakthrough album that everybody would consider one of the best albums made. Personally, I just never got them. I think being in New York, I couldn't relate to every song being about surfing, water, beaches, surfing this. Surfing
really? You grew up on an island and you couldn't relate to that?
No, I couldn't. I had fire hydrant surfing. That's what I did in Queens. There was no beach or ocean, okay?
So well, there was. You just never got there.
No, it was a two-fare thing. That's like a bus and a train. But I mean, as far as pop albums and top albums, I mean, Pet Sounds always comes up on the list. But that's why, I would say that would be the 5th album I would pick, even though I'm not a big fan of theirs, but respectfully understanding what they did at the time and how, they were ahead of the curve. I tip my hat to them, even though I was not a fan.
Well, they had that big song on there, God Only Knows.
Massive, I have the Neil Diamond version, too. Yeah. It's a great song.
Massive hit. Brian Wilson was very talented, but also had a lot of demons and then, had all sorts of issues. But I actually saw them, the Beach Boys, when I went up to the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. We were up there. And that weekend, they were playing an outdoor show at the Doubleday Field. I think it's Doubleday Field, right? The baseball field that's actually there in town.
I don't know what it's called, but yes, I know.
Yeah, so I think that's the name of if I remember correctly. But they were playing there, and that was pretty cool. I mean, this is long. Brian Wilson, wasn't back with them, but still, whoever the Beach Boys were at that point. What's going on?
We have activity here. The dog's getting up, so I didn't know what was going on. But being you mentioned Cooperstown, let's change for 1 second and say I have a story about Cooperstown.
You do?
During the gas strike or the gas, whatever was going on in the 70s when you don't have a lot of gas.
Yeah.
I remember my dad said, let's go to Cooperstown. We took a bus up to Cooperstown, and I guess it's not as it is now, but I mean, back in the 70s, I guess it was still pretty cool. Now I know they've made a lot of changes and renovations and stuff. But we're walking through Cooperstown with my dad, and he sees something in the display, and he says, they got it wrong. I said, Dad, I doubt they got it wrong. We're in Cooperstown. Don't tell me. My father being my father, he calls the guy over and says, you got the wrong information there. I think it was about the Dodgers. And the guy, he takes out his little, I guess, the information book. He looks it up. My father was right. And they took the thing out of the display, and I guess they were going to correct it. And my father's like, did we get anything for that? We get a T-shirt, or I found a mistake at Cooperstown. But
free admission for life, maybe.
And I was like, Dad, don't say anything. I mean, I was embarrassed. He said, don't tell me. I know what I'm talking about. And of course, you don't believe your dad. Dad, sure, you're right. But he was right. Never forget that.
The
Found the
Brooklyn
mistake in
Dodgers. Was he a
Cooperstown.
Brooklyn Dodger fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's how we became Met fans, because
Right, right, right.
after
Yeah.
they left town,
My
then
father was a Dodger fan too, from Brooklyn, and he still liked them. And they moved to L.A. And then every time they came, they used to come in a couple times a year to play the Mets. So we would get tickets and go,
we,
when the Dodgers were in town. And then when we first moved down to Florida back in the late 70s, early 80s, Vero Beach is where the Dodgers did their training. So you
hmm,
went down to Dodger Town and you could walk around. It was just south of where we lived, so it was easy to go. And you used to see Tommy Lasorda and all those
and he was a
guys,
good character. He could
yeah,
be a good
walking
guy.
around. And spring training gives you a lot of access sometimes to these players because
Right.
it's not now it's a little more organized than it was back then. They were just not that they weren't organized, but there seemed to be they have a little more restrictions getting closer to the players now. Back then, I mean, you'd walk on the same sidewalk as the players were walking from place to place. So,
Cool. But
yeah.
that was my Cooperstown story. So if you ever find a mistake in Cooperstown, just realize you won't get anything for it.
Yeah, one of the best displays in Cooperstown. There's a lot of good ones, but is that whole Abbott and Costello routine? Who's on first? And I could watch that over and over again and just laugh. It's still funny all these years later.
Nice.
You
Good
know,
stuff.
just the way he. I mean, it's timeless and it's classic. It's two guys and a mic. I am Jim Ryan. He is Mark Rizzo. This is episode number 5. 5. We've made it to 5.
Cinco.
We have a bunch of subscribers, but we need more. We need your help to keep this thing going. So please subscribe, cost you nothing, and also like and ring the notification bell here on YouTube. And we're also going to explore how we can get this in other spots. We've had some people reach out to us about that.
Yeah, some people want to help us because as we're trying to learn and grow this thing, there are experts that know more than us that can help spread the word of this fascinating podcast.
They know
But I
a
did
lot
want to
more
give an
than us.
update. I did have an update because those that may have watched the other episodes about my promise to give a car away, I
Yeah.
did find out from a lawyer in our legal department. I didn't tell you that we hired people to work in the legal department. There's a rule that you actually have to have a car before you can give a car away. So we have to work on that.
Okay.
I just figured we can give a car away, but
I'm
yeah,
more impressed that we have a legal department.
yeah, we have a legal department. And I have updates. I've been talking about all the guests that we're going to get.
Yeah.
I guess I did reach an agent who handles everyone from Tom Hanks, George Clooney, Jennifer Aniston, Brad Pitt. Got him on the phone. And you may want to write these dates down because he did get back to me and says, I'll make that happen when hell freezes over. So if you have that on the calendar, when hell freezes over, we have them on our podcast.
Nah, we'll have to look into what year is that going to be?
I don't know. I couldn't find it on I asked Alexa and she didn't know
Yeah,
either.
she doesn't know. Maybe
You
Siri
gotta have
knows.
hope. You just never know.
Yeah. Well, the way the world's going, who knows?
Who knows is right.
Crazy stuff. We went over our top 5 albums musically. There's just now you were telling me before we started the show. Now there's a big top rivalry about to begin again. Actually, it's started at this point. I don't know if it's much of a rivalry, but Katy Perry with a new song out and Taylor Swift with a brand new song.
Yeah, depending when we actually post this, we'll see how that how the rivalry turns out, I should say. But yeah,
Shouldn't say
Katie has a
Taylor's
new
not a
one.
brand new song, right? It's on the album. It's
Right.
on, yeah. So it's on Tortured Poets Department. But
And knowing radio, they'll say we have enough Taylor Swift on the air. They'll embrace Katie a little bit more than Taylor, but then Taylor will catch up and she'll dominate as usual.
let me ask you, if you had to put a number on how many times a radio guy has said to you, there's too much of so and so on the air,
Yep.
can't play it. How many
Yep.
times?
There. Why do I need to play the new one when I've got the old one still doing well? I do that with every project we're working. Just because the record label is ready to put out a new single doesn't mean I'm ready to move on.
That's true.
And a good example is Miley Cyrus with Flowers. Right now on the EC chart, I think I'd have to check my notes. I'm not prepared to do that right now. But quite frankly, it's like 100 and something charted weeks. And at
Yeah.
number 1, it's over 50, I believe.
But when radio folks are, if they're able to get a weekly call out or research, and a record is working with their audience, they don't really have a big, huge desire to move on, depending on what your format is,
Right.
and how aggressive you're going to be and how many opens. I always found it funny when some label people would talk to you as if the slots on your radio station they
Oh,
owned,
theirs.
right?
Mm,
So no, that's capital slot. I didn't realize I didn't realize you paid part of my salary in order to have a slot. You
exactly.
know, that's
But,
not the case. That's not the way it goes.
but my other argument was if you have Taylor Swift on there and she's doing well, why wouldn't you put more Taylor Swift on the air?
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
It can become a scheduling problem though, because you want artist separation. Because you don't want the audience to get to the point where like they're
It's the Taylor
hearing,
Swift radio show.
yeah, I mean, unless it's a specialty program that you let them know you're doing that. Do they want to hear? Does the mass amount of your audience want to hear Taylor every 20 minutes?
No, it's true.
Probably not. Some maybe. You create a
Interesting.
specialty program for it, but it is about balance and rotation. And when as far as satellite radio went, which a lot of people don't realize this, because satellite and digital service providers pay performance rights fees, and satellite also had to operate under the DMCA law, which basically states that we could play no more than four selections from any one artist in a 3 hour period, no more than two in a row from any one album without a waiver from whoever owns those recordings.
Why?
Well, when satellite radio went to get their license from the government, the NAB, the National Association of Broadcasters, pretty powerful lobby,
Hmm.
who represented what you would call terrestrial over the air radio, were concerned that satellite was digital. Remember, at the time, most radio stations weren't digital when we're talking back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Believe it or not, radio wasn't digital at that point.
Hmm.
But they believed that satellite radio could just come on and put on an entire album and play the whole album digitally so people wouldn't have to go buy said album.
Hmm.
So they were able to convince the government to put in a law to restrict us in order to get the license that they got from the FCC. Well, we all know how the government works. You can't get all those people in the House or the Senate to even agree the sky is blue. So to get it changed is going to be next to impossible. So then we would have to get labeled to give us waivers. That's how these channels are done at SiriusXM. You get a waiver, but some labels give us so many waivers a year for nothing, and then they want to charge for some. So it becomes this whole big thing, and you have to carefully pick and choose how you're going to use those said waivers. And then when they would do artist channels, they would either pay a fee or come to some kind of agreement with the artist on how to go about doing, to satisfy that law,
Interesting.
which terrestrial radio doesn't have to do. I can remember specifically Prince dying, right? Prince died right in the middle of the day. Remember that? It
Sure.
was like 12 noon. I was out getting some lunch, got text, my phone started blowing up. So because I was programming the 80s channel at Sirius XM, they wanted to take it live with one of the original VJs. Mark Goodman happened to be in the building. And the problem was not only were we going from studio to studio because studios were booked at Sirius XM for various things, and sometimes things weren't open. And we would get a half hour in this studio, then we'd have to move and do another half hour somewhere else. But the thing was, I had to keep moving from Prince to Prince and the New Revolution to just when he recorded under the
Oh,
symbol to the artist formerly known as Prince to the Prince and the Purple and the Revolution and all of that. I had to move around, bounce around to put the whole special together for like 2 hours of live, where I had friends running radio stations that just went on terrestrial radio stations and played an hour or two worth of Prince music,
hmm.
no problem, anything they wanted. I couldn't do that.
Not fair. Not fair, I say. Not fair.
I am, but it's the way it's now. Of course, there's been some. attempts to move legislation through Congress to make terrestrial radio pay those performance rights fees. We're not just talking, everybody has to pay ASCAP and BMI. And if you're not familiar with what ASCAP, those are the publishing, how you publish the music. Everybody pays those fees. Even regular terrestrial radio pays those. But digital services like Sirius, like Pandora, like Spotify, any of them, Apple, they have to pay the performance rights fees. So basically, the artist who performs is getting money too, not just the writer or the publisher, whoever owns the publishing. Like if Paul McCartney owned the publishing, but Ringo Starr sings the song, it plays on terrestrial radio, he doesn't get any money, Ringo. Paul gets it. But from Sirius XM or the digital service providers, they get paid. The performers get paid.
Wow.
And it varies. I mean, every company works out a deal. There's third party, and we're monitored, but it's a hefty sum of money. It's a big, big, big number every year. Because you can imagine how many songs are playing like crazy,
Right.
Constantly. And that's what happened with the Turtles when they sued Sirius XM, trying to get more money. Then Sirius could pull their music, not play it. So
That's
you can,
funny
how many times can you go to the well? I mean, you can't hold somebody hostage. Okay, we just won't play your music.
Well, it solves that problem.
Yeah. I mean, it hurts the fans and it hurts the artist, but they did it to themselves.
Hmm.
It's a crazy business. A lot goes on beyond, but you see, you worked as a label guy. You didn't even know about that.
I probably did, but probably forgot it. I had other things I had to keep my mind on.
Yeah, how to get tickets
play a record.
How to get tickets to bribe somebody to play a record.
But speaking of artists that always looking for more money, there were always artists that would, try to get more money out of the record company, and they would always audit them. There was always suspicion on bookkeeping, and there were artists that would audit Arista and audit all kinds of people. I think it was a regular thing they would do because, record companies had a reputation, I guess, of not paying correctly or whatever. But I do know there were artists that would audit and see if they really were getting paid the right amount of money for the deals.
Yeah. Interesting. Anybody ever say to you, what was I going to say? Anybody ever tell you in your record promotion days that they just wouldn't, there was no way they were ever going to play the record no matter what you did?
Oh yeah, there's always people say, no matter, I was working, Carly Simon, Let the River Run, up for an Academy Award from the movie Working Girl. Was that what it was called? Working Girl?
The one with Sigourney Weaver and Melanie Griffith?
Yeah. I had a guy named Jim Morales, WMYX Milwaukee. He told me flat out, I'm never playing a record. It's an effing weird record because it had a strange beginning. Now I think Jim Morales is probably still at the radio station, but I don't think he's in programming anymore. That's one that stayed in my mind, stayed in my head. And no matter how many times I would call him, he wouldn't add the record. And I think we did do pretty well with it. I think it got top 5 at AC back when it was only AC and not hot AC. But yeah, that's one that a guy just told me no.
The dog seems to be grabbing more.
Yeah, there's something going on here, and if we continue,
put the dog outside.
I may be cleaning up a mess in a little while.
Put the dog outside. You got a show to do. Put the dog outside.
I have a show to do. Don't you understand? This is being broadcast in countries. Cinco.
It's Two Guys and a Mic. Jim Ryan with Mark Rizzo. It is our weekly podcast about the music industry, the radio and record label side of that. We both have quite a bit of extensive experience in that field or in those fields. And we really appreciate you subscribing. It is free to our podcast here on YouTube. We hope to put up new episodes each and every week. So hit the notification bell that will alert you when the new episode comes up. And also some likes, much appreciated. We talk music and more. And we covered our top 5 albums.
But wait, there's more. Let me flip it back to you. Was there a song that you said you were never going to play that you went back and had to eat and go back and play it?
I can't think of one that I ever said, there's no way I'll ever play this. I have said to people, prove to me this is a hit, a legitimate hit, and then, I have to take a look at it. But I don't think I've ever shut somebody down completely and said, there's just no way.
Yeah.
I mean, for a legitimate, I shouldn't say that. There were songs that were sent to me that were just, I'd be like, there's no way this is ever going on. It doesn't fit what we do. This is not
Yeah.
us. That's one thing. But if it's a song that had been getting airplay at the format I was working at the time, I would never completely shut the door outright. Might take
Well, I was
longer to
talking
get
about
there.
that the Carly Simon song, as I said, "Let the River Run" from Working Girl. Back then, we actually had a sneaker because she wore sneakers in the movie. I guess she
Oh
did
yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
shirts or
Good
sneakers, and
movie, by the way.
we were giving sneakers away to radio. We probably wouldn't be able to do that nowadays.
Who was the guy in that movie? Remember?
No.
Come on, you don't remember?
Who the guy was? I know.
Yeah.
You remember these things. I have no clue.
He was supposedly dating Sigourney Weaver's character, but he fell for Melanie Griffith's character. It was Harrison Ford.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Yeah.
Harrison Ford.
Interesting.
Yep.
I keep saying interesting, but yeah, that's interesting.
Alec Baldwin was in that movie too.
He's got his hands full with some issues now too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He does. So, hey, from the world of movies, let us not forget to congratulate Margot Robbie. You probably saw she's going to have her first child, her and her husband. They officially confirmed to People magazine they're pregnant.
Hmm.
So,
That's
I knew you needed to know that news.
well, I think that makes my day. She's beautiful, by the way. Remember
She's
her on
very,
the
very
Wolf of
attractive.
Wall Street?
What was that?
Remember her in the Wolf of Wall Street?
Yes. Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
making Leonardo crazy and she was
Yes.
teasing him. Oof, she's beautiful.
I can't tell you the last time that we went to the theater. I don't remember the last movie I saw in the theater. I just don't
Oh,
go anymore. Do you?
no,
You go
I
to
don't think
movies?
people go. No, I don't. I don't think people actually go to movies anymore. And you mentioned that you just saw the Eddie Murphy thing that was on what
Well, it was on
Netflix?
Netflix. It's on
Yeah.
Netflix, and it's definitely worth the watch. The story is pretty good, considering it's been how many years. It's the fourth in the franchise, but the last one was done in when did they do number three? I guess early 90s. Um, but it's really well done. A lot of the same characters come back. Some of the play off the same joke a little bit, but it's well done. It's well written, and it was entertaining to me.
Nice.
Worth
I'll have to
worth
catch
checking
that.
out if you have Netflix.
Well, I'll check that out. But I think the last time we were talking about shows that stream that I don't get into, but since that last episode, whichever episode that was of ours, I we started to watch The Bear, and I
Great, isn't it?
it's a lot of stress going on, a lot of yelling and screaming. It's probably why I'm comfortable. It probably reminds me of my upbringing with the cursing and the yelling and that one episode about the seven fish, the Christmas episode. Oof,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
yelling and
yeah,
screaming. Oh man, that was a
yeah.
lot going
With
on
Jamie
there.
Lee
But
Curtis,
yeah, she's actually very good.
she won an Emmy for that.
Oh yeah, she did.
I'm pretty sure
Oh, was
she was
that the
definitely
Emmy she was
nominated.
with?
I don't want to say she definitely won, but I know she was nominated. She may have won.
Interesting. She was very good. It was
Yeah,
some episode, boy. Woof, a lot of
yeah.
stress, but I liked it. I think we're just finishing season two now, and I think they just released season three, which we'll
Season
catch up.
three is out there now. Yeah,
It's good.
it's a good show.
Huh.
Definitely
So
a good
maybe we'll
show.
finally get into streaming some of these.
I did hear that. Well, since we last did an episode, Kevin Costner confirmed no more
Right.
Yellowstone. I think we mentioned that in the last episode or not, but and then they'll have the new some new episodes towards the end of the year of this year, and then there'll be another break before they do more. It'd be interesting because I hear they're going to do a spin-off on that show um, with some of the characters, so that'll be interesting. I think
Well,
Taylor Sheridan, who writes it, is phenomenal.
well, he's got those films coming out, right? About the Wild Wild West. I think the
Yeah.
first one's coming out, and then I think he's got a second one coming out, and then a third one. I think the first one's over 3 hours long. Speak about going to a movie theater for 3.5 hours. I don't think anyone's doing that.
No, I don't think people do that.
And he
You
invested
couldn't,
a lot of his money
he
in
should
it.
have talked to Kevin Costner about that. How many people, Dances with Wolves just went on, and it was a good movie, but it just was too much. It was too
I'll put
long.
him on the list. Hold on.
Kevin
Hold
Costner
on.
or Taylor Sheridan.
No, Kevin Costner. I'll drop him a note too. There's no way he can say when hell freezes over. They already used that answer.
Well, I mean, it'd be a good time to tell you we are going to have a guest for next episode. Already booked, ready to go. Mark's first boss, and when he became on the promotion side of the business and got out of the mailroom, he escaped the mailroom. I remember you saying you showed up to get the job in a suit.
Yep.
Did you keep wearing a suit to the mailroom?
No.
No.
That was the one time I used the suit. I got the job for the mailroom and the suit went away. I
Suit
don't
went
know what
away.
we wore. I guess it was obviously very casual because
Yeah, you're in the mailroom.
yeah, we were in the mailroom.
Well,
Are
anyway,
there
we're going to
mailrooms
have
anymore in companies? Are there big mailrooms?
Sirius XM had one. The building did. Yeah.
And they would bring the mail to your office?
I guess you get some notification for a while early on before our mailroom guys would get everything and then disseminate it out to you. Sometimes you get a call from the building because there was some package that was delivered to the package center of the building, and then you had to go down and sign for it to get it. But eventually they stopped that, and the mailroom guys would go down and get all those packages and then disseminate them out. So, but
Well,
anyway,
hey, a lot
let's
of
not.
people.
I got to mention that Rick Stone's going to be here before we forget.
Right,
Rick being your first boss.
right. And he rescued me from the mailroom. So there'll be a lot of thanking. And he set the example for me to go into the world of promotion because I worked for him as a promotional assistant.
And he
And
worked for, he worked with Charlie Miner, who
Charlie
is
Miner was in Los Angeles. We were in New York, but he ran the department, Charlie, and
many,
Rick was
many
right under
stories.
Charlie, and it was interesting.
Many, many stories. I'm
And
sure
a lot
he
of
has.
hits. We had the Police and Brian Adams, as we spoke about one of the
Yeah.
episodes back, and Jeffrey Osborne, and a lot of good stuff. A&M was a great little record company, and I had the opportunity to go to the reunion this past December, and it was fun. It was nice. Herb
And
Alpert, nice
get
man.
get to see a bunch of people you hadn't seen in a long time.
I didn't remember them. I was in the mailroom. I pretended I knew him. Oh, good to see you. Nice.
What did you do? I was on the top floor. I didn't deal with you people. Anyway, two guys and a mic. Please subscribe, like, hit the notification bell. We're working on our subscriber numbers. We need to make this big if we're going to get that car that Mark talks about giving away.
Right. Well, I did do research on how to improve subscribers and stuff.
Yeah.
And they say that tips to improve cursing. You have to do a lot of cursing. People like cursing.
Okay. Oh
Mm,
shit.
Nudity. You may want to take your shirt off.
No, you can do that.
And violence. So maybe I'll have to come over there, hit you in the head, and take your shirt off. I think those 3 tips will get us more subscribers. But I did want to also mention that we did get some feedback. I did get a note from Boston University that said that they would like to use these podcasts because they're doing a sleep study up there. And
Oh, yeah,
these
that's
things
a
could
good
be.
one.
And
Yeah,
the
you
other
should give
email I
them.
did get, being we're in Sarasota, at least I am, the home of Ringling Brothers. They said they're always looking for 2 clowns. So there you go.
Okay.
I got
It's
a lot
good
of
to know
stuff
we
coming.
have options.
Got a lot of stuff coming through.
Good to know we have options. What do you think our next top 5 list should be? Because we're gonna have to get Rick to prepare too on this.
Hmm.
And maybe it doesn't have to be music, or should it be music? Maybe it should be the top 5 most difficult records you ever had to work.
No, you know what? Maybe you can ask Rick his top 5, maybe his biggest songs that he took credit for, was excited about, or the best artists to work with, or the best projects, his best memories of A&M, because he was there a while. He was there with Amy Grant. He was there with a lot of big artists, and he was responsible for a lot of it. So he may have some great stories about a lot of the stuff at A&M, which was a great record label, historic, and everything they did from the Carpenters. I mean, there's a lot of rich history there. He'd have a lot of stuff he may want to talk about in terms of his 5, proudest accomplishments, perhaps.
Yeah. All right. We could do that. Could figure that out.
Yeah, we'll ask him. We'll say, be prepared with your 5 biggest A&M moments,
We're
or
going
your
to have
biggest
to
5 biggest projects.
we're going to have to deliver some bad news to Rick. He won't be eligible to win the car. Once he's a guest, no eligibility allowed for contest.
I'll
So,
ask if I hurt his career or helped his career.
yeah, that's a good one. You should.
I
Actually,
know how to
I'll
bring
ask
him a
him.
cup of coffee,
I'll
though. He'll
ask
tell you
him.
about that coffee.
Did Mark Rizzo help or hurt his career by working for you?
Anyway, that'll be fun. But I think we have other people from the initial responses I've got who enjoyed a couple of our episodes that also asked to be on because everybody has a story or has
Yeah.
some success or has, you know, something that they did in this wonderful business of ours. And everybody has a different, you know, interesting story or aspect or how they got started or, you know, a lot of great
And,
memories, a lot of
and I
great
saw
art.
someone had sent a feedback to you about talking about how AC music started on the radio and how a hot AC became to be, what the difference and all that stuff was. We
That's very
should
interesting.
That'll
And
be a
that's
future
from a,
topic for sure.
his name is Dave German. He worked with us at Arista Records. He was responsible for Taylor Dane and Expose, I believe. So he had great stories of how he found them, how he brought them to Clive. And obviously, when I started, it was just AC radio. Then I branched off to make it hot AC. But the artists that broke out of AC were, you know, adult contemporary artists who got their, you know,
Yeah.
break on AC if they actually were not busting out at top. So he'd be a
So
great,
he's
he's
the
an
guy.
encyclopedia. He's unbelievably intelligent, has all the stats on every artist and every record ever put out.
He's the guy that found Leslie Wonderman out on Long Island.
Leslie Wonderman. And she's out there. She's still out there singing and dancing. So God bless
And it's Taylor Swift's name, real name. Yeah.
Taylor Dane.
Taylor Dane. All right. Not Taylor Swift, Taylor Dane. I don't want Taylor Swift. I was thinking that because I wanted to transition. You didn't bring it up, and I know how big of a Swiftie you are. We just passed the day where that whole relationship with Travis Kelce got started.
It's been a full year, huh?
Been a full year. And I first heard about it because he went on his podcast with his brother.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. He's got a podcast too?
Yeah, he does.
Does he have a lot of subscribers?
They got a few. Now we're catching up, though. We're catching up. Um, and he went on and said that, he was disappointed he had gone to her Eras tour stop in Kansas City at Arrowhead. And he was hoping to meet her so he could give her a
Well,
friendship
a
bracelet he
bracelet,
had
right?
made. Yeah.
Right.
And he didn't get the chance to meet her. So he complained about it. And word got back to her. And they started right then and there. He got a chance to meet her, give her the friendship bracelet, and then they hit it off. And boom, now here it is a year later. And he's performing with her on stage in London.
Dreams come true.
Yes. Although they're going to be away from each other for a while now because he's about to head to training camp. So the coach probably will be like, okay, enough of that. No more top hat and tails. Put on the shoulder pads and let's go to work.
Wow.
So,
Speaking of which, if you had a bet now, do you think Kansas City Chiefs, you think they win again?
oof, they got a good team. They really do. They really, really do. It's hard to say if they'll do it again. It's such a tough thing to pull off, but even back to back, let alone who's the last team that did three in a row? I don't know if the Patriots even did
I
three in
don't
a
know
row.
if the
Did they?
Patriots did three in a row. Maybe they did. I don't know.
I know Buffalo did four in a row, but they lost every one of them.
I could tell you that the Jets did not win three in a row. That part I
No.
know.
Maybe it was the Cowboys did three in a row
The
at some
Steelers,
point.
49ers.
Steelers, Cowboys, or 49ers. One of those three might have. I don't know if it was the Steelers. Maybe they did. Three in a row is tough. And back when those teams did it, the league was far different.
Hmm.
Not just the amount of games they played during the season, but there wasn't as much parity. Like you could get, a whole bunch of superstars locked up in one team and, they just dominated. And now
Wow.
there's a lot more parity in the league. So, with the
It's
salary
hard.
cap and
And it's
everything
a long
else.
season.
Yeah.
Now, before we get off the football, I'm not sure. Did they add an extra game this year? They took it away from preseason and added it to regular
No,
season, or
not
how did
yet.
it go through?
Not yet. Not
Not
yet.
yet.
I think that's in discussion to go forward. They would
That's a
take
lot of
away
games, man.
another. They would take away another preseason
Preseason,
game,
man.
give everybody 18 games instead of 17, but everybody would get 2 bye weeks.
They need
Two
it. I
bye
mean, it's a
weeks.
physical game.
Yeah. So you would end up with 2 bye weeks because they're not going to get rid of Thursday night football, which I hear many of the players just can't stand, but it's a money thing and they agreed to it. And so they're never giving that up.
Yeah.
Because, if you play on Sunday, turn around and play on Thursday when one day is already your mandatory off day. Like you're off. They can't make you do anything. Um, it's such a short turnaround for these guys when they get beat up like that. They barely, and then they get a break afterwards. They don't play for another 11, 12
Indeed.
days, whatever it is. But it's a tough thing to do the Thursday. And now, they're making sure they have Christmas games and Saturday games. And they probably don't need 3 preseason games. Most of these guys, you're basically evaluating the rookies and the younger guys and who's going to have to make the team for special teams. Most of the starters, they know what they have to do to be ready to play for the season.
Well, it's a great sport. People love it. Brings a lot of money. And,
Yeah,
hey,
it'll
kind
be
of like this
interesting. I don't know if
podcast.
Kansas City can do it. I mean, we'll see. It's never easy, but we'll see.
I kind of said it. It's like this podcast. It's very well loved.
Jim Ryan and Mark Rizzo. It's two guys and a mic. It is our podcast, and this is episode number 5.
Cinco.
And yeah, Cinco, for those who speak Spanish.
Correct.
What if they speak Norwegian? How do you say number
No,
5 in
they say that.
Norwegian? What's that?
I don't know.
Well, see, you
I'm
don't come
preparing my notes
prepared.
for Rick Stone.
You don't come prepared. One of these days, we're going to talk about all the albums hanging behind you.
It's the same one. I just made copies of it.
I have a few. I couldn't bring any more into the house under threat of, trouble.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks so much for joining us. We did our top 5 albums. Remember, like and subscribe. It costs you nothing to subscribe, so we can keep growing this thing. Two guys and a mic. Find it on YouTube, and we're exploring ways for you to find it in other places as well. Because I think the more places
Our
we are,
goal
the
is to
better
be
we are.
everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere, I tell you, Jim.
And then the next episode will be with Rick Stone. Should I tease? I'm going to tease that we will have an actual artist the week after. So that'll be episode 7 when we get there. But an actual real life musical
That'll be
artist.
exciting because that's going to bring other artists. Because once word gets out that we've got artists, I also have another list of that, of actually legitimate ones who will join us.
That we both know. We both
and some
have played and worked their record or records. Correct. More than one. Plural, please. Two guys and a mic. Thanks again for listening.
Take care.